So VPNs. A lot of you dropshippers out there think that a VPN is the solution to all of your problems, and it can certainly help, but only if you do it right. Otherwise, it could actually lead to a lot more trouble. So there's a lot of misunderstanding in the dropshipping community about VPNs and what they do, what they don't do, and how they can actually benefit you as a dropshipper. So in this video, I kind of want to break down not only what a VPN is and how to use it, I'll actually show you step by step the best way to set up what I think is the best VPN out there for you to be using, but I'll also be kind of demystifying or dispelling some of the myths about VPNs that are really getting a lot of people in trouble when it comes to dropshipping. Now, before we talk about VPNs, we briefly have to cover what an IP address is. So an IP address is a number that's assigned to your computer. It's basically like an address for your computer. You also have one for your phone. And it allows the device that you're using to communicate with the internet. So everyone has a unique IP address, and it can change based on where you are. In fact, if anyone knows your IP address or is able to access it, which websites can do that, every time you access those websites will then have a pretty good idea of where you are at that moment. So for instance, right now, I'm in Colorado, and sure enough, I just came onto this website, search what is my IP, and it tells me my IP address right here, and it says you're currently in Longmont, Colorado, and it even shows me a map, and that's a pretty accurate estimation of where I am. So if that's a little bit scary for you, then let me kind of tell you what a VPN is. So a VPN is called a virtual private network, and what that does is it masks or hide your IP address. Now, why might this come in handy? Why might you want to mask or hide your IP address? Well, there's certain websites that you're only able to use if you're in certain locations. So for instance, if you want to set up an ebay.com account, you can't do that from certain countries. You can definitely do it if you're here in the United States. Also, websites like homedepot.com. You can't actually access and buy from this website unless your IP address indicates that you are in fact here in the United States. There are other instances when you would want to mask your IP address. So for instance, if you used to sell on eBay and now they've banned you permanently, 100% say you can never sell on eBay ever again, you kind of have to, if you want to start selling on eBay again, hide the fact that it's you who were banned in the past so that you need a new IP address so you can start selling again. Another thing that we do is we hire a lot of virtual assistants from other countries like the Philippines. So even though my accounts are in good standing, even though I can access ebay.com and homedepot.com with no issue, when I hire virtual assistants from the Philippines, they are not going to be able to access my eBay account or homedepot.com because their IP address says that they're not in the United States. So if we use a VPN to mask their IP address, it will make it look like they're here in the United States. They'll be able to access Home Depot and access ebay.com as well. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about when and why you'd wanna use a VPN in a minute. So the VPNs will, like I said, mask your IP address. This is how they work. So here I am on nordvpn.com. This is a very, very common VPN that a lot of people use. I use another similar one called Windscribe. You can see it right here. Now currently it's off. And with it off, you can see right here on NordVPN's website, it tells me what my IP address is. So let me go ahead and turn on this VPN, the Windscribe VPN. It is now activated, and let me refresh this page. Remember, this IP address ends in 109, so if I refresh it, it now ends in 200, and it says I'm in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. So what this VPN is doing, what Windscribe is doing, is it's making it look like this is my IP address and making it look like I'm in Georgia. So what can happen is my VAs can go ahead and turn this on, and then they're able to shop on Home Depot. They can come to ebay.com. Even things like Netflix, there's certain TV shows and movies that you can only watch if you're in certain countries, and Netflix knows if you're in that country based on your IP address. So you can just turn this on and access all the American TV shows and movies that you want. Now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, great. If I need to access ebay.com, either because I'm outside the United States or I've been banned in the past, or I need to access Home Depot or watch Netflix, whatever it is, I can just download Windscribe or NordVPN and that one will work fine, right? Well, Not exactly, and this is where a lot of dropshippers get in trouble. Sure, these commercial VPNs, as we call them, work fine for certain things. Like if you want to shop on HomeDepot.com, it will get the job done. If you want to stream Netflix from outside the United States, it will get the job done. But the problem with these commercial VPNs, the ones that we use like Windscribe and NordVPN, is that they have a list of different IP addresses that you can use to mask your IP address. So let's say one of these has 10 different IP addresses. The problem is everyone else who has that same VPN service like Windscribe or NordVPN, they're also going to have access to all 10 of those IP addresses, which means that there's a lot of people using those IP addresses, which means that if someone uses that IP address and they set up an eBay account and they mess up their account and they get banned, well, now that IP address is on eBay's blacklist. In fact, a lot of these companies have gone a step further than that. They actually know all the IP addresses that these commercial VPNs use, and they've added all of them to their blacklist. So for instance, on eBay, if you try to set up an eBay account while having a Windscribe VPN on or NordVPN on, there's a really good chance that as soon as you set up that account, eBay is going to ban it. Why? Because they saw what your IP address is, and that matched up with an IP address on their blacklist because they just took all the commercial VPNs, all the IP addresses for them, and put them on their blacklist. Well, why would they do that? Because they know that if someone's coming onto eBay trying to set up an account and they have a commercial VPN on, they're trying to hide something, or at least that's the assumption. So a lot of these websites just say, hey, you know what? We don't know what they're trying to hide. Maybe they don't have any ill intent, but just in case, we're gonna block all those IP addresses. So that's why a lot of these commercial VPNs just do not work when you're trying to set up accounts on like eBay.com or Facebook Marketplace or other things like that. So what do you do instead? Well, there are these things that you can get called dedicated VPNs. So this little diagram that I found on the web really explains it really well. So with a shared IP address, like the ones we were just talking about, there might be a bunch of people here all accessing websites with the same IP address. But with a dedicated IP address, only you have access to that IP address, which means that no one else is going to share it, which means it's not going to be on someone's blacklist. It's not going to look as fishy as one of these shared IP addresses. So the benefits of these dedicated ones, you could stay off the blacklist. Also, there's less verification needed because some of the websites, like maybe Home Depot, if you have a commercial VPN going, they'll still let you shop, but they might make you go through extra verification, extra reCAPTCHA, for instance, when you're checking out. And that's going to happen less if you have a dedicated VPN that's not shared. And even things like sending emails, because Gmail is able to see if you're on a shared IP address or one of the more commercial ones, and they've added that to a list, and they're more suspicious of emails that go through Gmail while you have that IP address. So just different things like that. So the dedicated VPN is really the route I would go if you do feel like you need a VPN while running a dropshipping business on eBay or Amazon or Facebook Marketplace. The other great thing about them is that when you set up a dedicated IP address, that will always be your IP address as long as you have the VPN turned on, which means that I can access my accounts on different websites in Colorado, I can access them in Hawaii, I can access them in Vietnam, and it will always have the same IP address. And that's really good when you're selling on these different websites like eBay or Facebook Marketplace or Amazon, because then those websites are going to see, hey, Paul keeps accessing our website from the same IP address. There's nothing fishy there. In this day and age, these websites, they're used to people moving around a lot. So they're used to IP addresses changing every time you move. But if there's a sudden change, like they see that you're accessing it from one country and then, the next day from another country, that can be a little bit suspicious for them and could raise red flags and could result in temporary suspensions on these different accounts. So the safest thing to do to avoid that from happening is just to have a dedicated VPN, and you only access your stores while you have that dedicated VPN on. Similarly, if you hire a virtual assistant, that virtual assistant, if you want them to, let's say, access your Facebook Marketplace account or your eBay account, you can just give them your dedicated VPN information. And so when they access those websites think it's you, and they will not think it's someone else signing in from another country. So it's a really smart way to run dropshipping businesses if you're worried about those different websites shutting you down for fear of you being someone else who's not you. Because ultimately, that's what they're afraid of. All right, so enough of that chit chat. Let me now show you exactly the VPN that I recommend, the VPN that I've been using, and how to actually set it up and use it. So I'll have a link to this website underneath this video, and that is my affiliate link. But hey, if you're getting some value out of this video and you're gonna sign up for this because of my video, I would really appreciate it if you would use my affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything extra to use that link. Now I'll show you in a second why I love this one. This is a VPN service, and when you're on this page, you can click on the top where it says pricing, and then click on dedicated plans, because again, we want a dedicated VPN. Now they do give you two options, a basic IP or a fresh IP. I always choose the fresh IP, because with fresh IP, it is a new IP address that no one else has used before. Because again, let's say someone has used this IP address in the past and then they cancel their service. Now the VPN service could resell that same IP address to someone else. That probably isn't a big deal unless the person who had used that VPN in the past had, let's say, set up an eBay account, had gotten in trouble with eBay and had their account shut down. Now that IP address looks a little fishy to eBay, so you don't want to use that IP address. So I always go for the fresh IP address here. It even says this is best for managing your e-commerce accounts like eBay, Amazon, PayPal, Stripe, Facebook Marketplace, etc. So I go for fresh IP and I go for the cheapest one right here. Now it says $9.58. It's gonna ultimately be a little bit more than that. I'll show you why. I'll click on fast checkout and I always choose a USA fresh IP address. If you ever need another country, hey, you could choose that one. So I'll click order now. And you see it actually is 20 bucks a month unless you go for 12 months. So I'm just gonna go for 1 month, $20 a month plus a $10 setup fee. So it'd be $30 today and $20 a month after that. I always do this in case I screw up setting up my account or screw up the IP address. I can always cancel the service and sign up for a new IP address. So that's good. Now click on continue and go through the checkout process. And obviously you have to enter in all your billing information and get signed up and place your order. All right, so once you sign up, you can ignore the emails that you get. You'll get a few emails, but just come back to IP Burger and click on the top where it says My Services. And then you should see right here all the IP addresses that you sign up for. You'll probably only have one at the time. The only active one right now is right here. So go ahead and click on that. And then you want to click the green button that says download VPN credentials, and then click on where it says HTTP proxy. I'll come back to that in a second, because next thing you want to do is search on Google for the IP Burger Chrome extension, and it should be the first thing that comes up, and just go ahead and add that to Chrome. Now there are several different ways you could set up this VPN on your computer. This I found without doubt is the easiest way to set it up. So now I'll click on this puzzle icon and go ahead and pin it. That's right there. And if you click on the extension and click on settings, it's going to ask you for some information. You can label this one whatever you want. So in this case, I'm going to use this for my Facebook Marketplace account. I'll type in Facebook Marketplace, and then you have to put in your credentials here. So it's saying, what's the protocol? There's HTTP or HTTPS. Then it asks for the server host name, the port, proxy username, and password. All that information you can get right here on this page. So it says the protocol is HTTP, then it gives you the server address, it gives you the port, the username, and password. It's gonna copy all that, paste it onto the other page, and then save it. All right, so now click save. And you can see now the IP Burger VPN is now green up there on the top right. I don't know if you can see that. That means it's working and it's good to go. So that means anything I access from this browser right here that has the IP Burger Chrome extension added will look like it's coming from that other IP address, the one that I just bought with IP Burger. That also means that if I open up another browser, like let's say Safari, that one will not have the IP Burger IP address. Or even if I open up a different profile here, like this one will not have the IP Burger IP address because it's not installed on this browser right here. Now the benefit of that is you're running multiple stores here. You might want one store with this IP address, another store without it. So this browser I only use for, let's say, my Facebook Marketplace account in this scenario, and then I might have a different profile here with my eBay account. If you're running multiple eBay accounts under different IP addresses, you can do that with different profiles as well. So it really gives you a lot of versatility with this IP Burger IP address or VPN. So again, if you're interested in using IP Burger, I'll have my affiliate link to them underneath this video for you to click on and sign up using this exact process that I just showed you. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys next time.